Hey guys, it's Spacer Sims, and we are back with more Paradigm Paradox, continuing Mihaya's route. Yeah, so we're about to go on a Bloom's mission. We had a nice little lunch with Mihaya last time, so making friends / boyfriends. That night, the Blooms were called for a mission for the first time in a while. Normally, I felt a heavy weight at the thought of facing more of the Vectors, not more of the Vectors, but anyway. But this time I was glad to have the opportunity to give Mocha her gift. It's funny because I don't remember there being a lot of typos or like weird things. Maybe I'm dumb and I just don't remember. Like, it's only been a few days since I finished. Literally been like a day or two. Like, because I'm trying to get I'm behind. You know what I mean? But I don't remember there being, but I feel like, okay. Let me put all my thoughts into a coherent order. I feel like during Mihaya's route so far, just in the last two parts, obviously, the last hour, it's been oh shit, there's a fuck ton of, medium typos. You know what I mean? Hold on a second. Just missing words or something is not quite right or whatever, you know? But I don't feel like there was anything like that in Kamui's route. Am I crazy? Did I just forget? Maybe I forgot. I don't know. But anyway, it's not a big deal. It always happens. Typos happen. But Tim and Ronald I think they did it at the end. There was something at the end, but they're getting a little sloppy now. It's really only been two that I've noticed. It's just because they're in back-to-back parts. I'm wait. And it's in the very beginning. You're whoa, wait a minute. But anyway. Giving Mocha her gift. But I can't bring it to the battlefield. I'll leave it here until we're done with the mission. I put my bag on the desk in the command center and made sure the cookies wouldn't get crushed. With that taken care of, I had it out. Well then, per usual, Haruka and I will be on the front lines. The three of you are on support. Understood. Roger that. You can count on me. Hold up. I'll fight on the front lines too. Are you sure? Everyone's eyes snapped toward Mocha. Yeah, I think I can handle it. So you feel comfortable fighting Vectors now? Since we found out the Vectors were originally humans, Mocha hadn't been too keen on fighting them, though I'd been even more hesitant. I wouldn't say comfortable, but I can manage it today. It's not fair to keep making you two do all the fighting. I had no clue what caused this change of heart, but Mocha seemed to be fired up today. Mocha's really going for it. I should be more proactive, too. Fight together with Mocha? Focus on backup with Sena. Fight together with Mocha is obviously the right answer for Mocha. Jesus. Oh no, focus on backup with Sena! What the fuck? Okay, listen. Listen, all I'm saying is Mihaya's very hard. Because you would be with Kamui, it was everything with Sena. Go with Sena. Go with Sena. Go with Sena. Always go with Sena. And this one is avoid Mocha at all costs. Okay. Focus on backup with Sena. Though Mocha had inspired me, it still felt too early to be jumping headfirst into battle. I mean, this was just giving us wasn't even good. That was a good answer for the good girl route, not Mocha in particular, so. Huh. I don't want to cause trouble for the others. In that case, if Mocha's going to the front lines, then I'll do the best to provide support. Come over here. I'll cast Augment on you. Mocha nodded happily at my suggestion. Maybe that's it too, because going with them is leaving too many people behind and could cause Sena injury. You know what I mean? Thanks, if you please. I took Mocha's hand and cast Augment. I was just in the nick of time because the next moment, Haruka called out. All I'm saying is, it's not that I don't like Mihaya. He's kind of adorable. His CGs are good. He's a lot cuter when he's Mocha. That's all I'm saying. I kind of like Mocha. There's me. Every time somebody's oh my god, let me date my girlfriend. Let me date the girls. And I'm I don't want to date the girls in the game. I have no interest. Now we're dating boys that turn into magical girls, but I'm Mocha's kind of cuter. Look at her little face. She's adorable. I love her. Like, I like Kaori. I love her face, like, the facial expression she makes, but Tokyo is so much hotter. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that, no way. That man, fuck it. And, like, Sane is adorable. She's got pretty eyes, but I still like Kamui probably better. But I think I might like Mocha better than Mihaya. It's like, could you just stay as Mocha forever? We'll just go our lesbian route. It's fine. Like, you know, or, I mean, I'll be bisexual. Just don't lose your magical girl powers. It kind of sucks that you do, you know? That's the good end? I don't know. I don't think the writers really understood the player base. If they were gonna be like, you know, so we're gonna have the boys turn into magical girls, but then at the end they'll lose their magical girl ability, so they'll just totally be a guy, because that would just be weird, dating a guy that turns into a magical girl, and you're like, no, that's what we're here for. Like, I mean, I am not a player who enjoys having female love interest. I don't want to date girls. The gayest my gay is gay man inside just wants to date the pretty boys. Okay. But like there are plenty of people who want to have like romance routes with your lady friends and stuff like that, or want female love interests and stuff like that. So like this is your game where you're like, you're kind of almost dating the girls a little, you're kind of flirting with them a little bit, you know what I mean? And like you could have leaned into it, and then you could have still had the happy ending where like they still stay magical girls, and then it's like, I got my boyfriend and my girlfriend and my girlfriend are the same person, but like sometimes he's in girl, like, you know what I mean? Then you get like, you know. But I feel like they kind of went with the, like, oh my god, girls aren't going to want to play a game. Like, we did the magical girl thing, but then they're going to lose their power because girls don't want to date a guy that turns into a girl. And it's like, you don't know us very well. Like, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Or, like, because you don't know what the end's going to be when you pick up the game. So if you were totally opposed, like, oh my god, I don't want to date guys that turn into magical girls, you would never buy the game. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. Anyway, I just think it would have been fun, but whatever. I took Mocha's hand and cast... Oh, okay, wait, next moment. Okay, well, we already read that. That was so loud, because it came through my TV, and I was like, what the fuck? I always have my TV muted, because I'm always like, sometimes it's awkward. The sounds coming out of my TV are too loud, but... Then when I start to load up this game and the theme song's playing, I can't hear it. So I want to blast it. So I totally forgot that I put my TV volume back up. And like, I was like, what the fuck? Because you can't, I don't know if you could even hear that growling. Anyway. Here they come! All right, let me at them. The battle was our smoothest in recent memory, thanks to Mocha's enthusiasm. This is it. Mocha kicked the final vector squarely in the chest, signaling the end of the fight. Kaori called us on our comms as the creature fell. The commander's ordered us to return. We shouldn't have to fight anymore today. Like, look at, like, Kaori's little Muppet face. It's adorable, but it's so funny because Tokyo doesn't seem like he has that kind of face at all. We couldn't have done it without you, Mocha. You were a big help. I was in better form than usual, wasn't I? I guess it's all thanks to you. Me? I thought she'd say something about how I provided support during the battle, but Mocha hesitated for some reason. Yeah, well, what I was gonna say, it was all because you and Santa's support. So thanks for that. No worries, you helped us out a lot. Indeed. Seeing you work so fervently made me even more motivated to give it my all. Conversation then turned to what issues from today's mission we could work on, and I soon forgot about my feelings that something was off with Mocha. Because, like, Mihaya's excited to have a friend, and, like, then totally forgot for a hot second that, like, we don't know that Mocha is Mihaya, you know? When we returned to the command center, the commander congratulated us briefly before assigning a new mission. He told us the order came from the higher-ups. We were to patrol the outer wall daily, even on days when the vectors didn't appear. Seriously? What kind of order is that? It's a pain is what it is. So is their plan simply to overwork us? Ugh, for real. I'm bushed. Does that mean we're supposed to do it after this meeting? We all began to complain and express our concerns, and the commander fervently shook his head. I was just sitting here and you just screamed and bit me for no fucking reason. You're lucky I don't knock you off my leg. I wouldn't do that. You're so cute and I love you, but you're such a jackass. You're a big fat asshole. I'm gonna trim your beak. I'm gonna grab you wrap you up in a bird taco and I'm gonna file your beak down. You're too sharp, just like your dagger toes. You're so sharp. I'm not gonna do that to him. I have to threaten him sometimes, though. He has no clue what I'm saying. No, not right away. The patrols will happen during the day. And I agree. I also felt having all of you on daily patrols was excessive, so I negotiated with them. You'll go in pairs on a rotation, and also, Rio and I are doing it as well. And there's 7 of us in total, so that means you'll only be on duty once every 3 or 4 days. The commander spoke at light speed, probably because he didn't want to give us room to interject. We all gave him cold stares in return. Once every few days is still too much. And even if you and Rio participate, you're both non-combatants. You'll just get in the way if any vectors appear. We have our superpowers, but it's not like we're professionals at this sort of thing. We don't know what to look out for. And patrolling isn't that difficult. You just need to keep an eye out for any damage to the outer wall. You'll gather all the info, and then Rio and I will figure out the vector's routes. And that's why we're accompanying you. If you're doing all the analysis, then there's no need for us to patrol. The higher-ups wanted the Blooms to do it so that you could dispose of any vectors that may appear. The commander's tone had been gentle so far, but his expression now turned serious. Unfortunately, this is an order. You have to follow it. That's seriously not fair. Calling it an order means we can't refuse. Kaori got in one last complaint for all of our sakes. None of us had anything more to say on that front. Let's just get this over with and decide the rotation now. I want to go home. We all felt the same, so we quickly settled on our teams. Yeah, but there's 7 of us, so that's somebody's going alone. So we're done here, right? Yeah, good work, everyone. I could fall asleep right now. Yawn. Oh, he could... I can't read the word yawn. The meeting adjourned, and I rushed to stop Mocha as everyone else was leaving the room. Wait, Mocha, there's something I need to give you. Give me? What is it? It's a gift. I saw how much pain you were in the other day, so I was hoping this might cheer you up a bit. I hope you'll like it. Mocha froze for a brief moment when she saw the wrapped gift. Is she trying to give me a sugar high or something? Huh? I thought she'd said something, but Mocha acted like nothing was wrong. I don't care about what happened the other day, but I'm also not one to turn down a gift. I like sweets just fine. I'll eat them since you went through the trouble of making them. Oh, good. Wait. I tried to remember if I told her the gift was cookies. Mocha was acting like her usual self. I was just glad she accepted the gift, so I waved the suspicion away. And then when we find out, we're going to be like, oh. We were going to begin patrols the next day after school. I'd be going on the 3rd rotation along with Rio. When the date came, we made our way to our starting point at the outer wall. And we're to focus on our investigation in low-risk areas, since neither of us are particularly adept at combat. As we discussed in the meeting, if we see any vectors, use your comm to contact everyone right away. You don't have to fight until they arrive. And if you spot anything odd with the outer wall, note it down and then report it. You're not to transform while on patrol. Because someone could see me. Correct. The Blooms have more missions during the day now, and we still want to keep the group confidential. Your Bloom's outfits aren't exactly subtle. The area's pretty deserted, but someone would definitely notice you if they came by. We can get started if you don't have any other questions. No, all good. Wait, you're going that way? Rio had started walking in the opposite direction from me. And we'll never finish if we stay together. It's more efficient to split up. Contact me immediately if you find anything. You got my number, don't you? Oh, yeah, I do, and there he goes. Rio just communicated the bare minimum and took off without waiting for my reply. This way might be more efficient, but he doesn't have any superpowers. Is he going to be safe? So are we doing the outer wall inside or out? I mean, this looks like inside the colony. You know what I mean? Because if we're outside, because it sounded like the way he was saying it is like, don't transform. We don't want anyone to see you type of a thing because, like, you know what I mean? Like, your costumes stand out. So it sounds like we're in our normal clothing, we're as our normal self, which means we can't go with Mocha because Mocha wouldn't be Mocha. You know what I mean? This is how we're gonna, okay. Okay, I see what's happening. Because, like, before, we figured out Sana, well, Kamui was Sana because we went to go see Sana doing the broadcast, ran in, saw her transform. Now, we're going to go out and be like, oh, I bet Mocha's at the outer wall, blah, blah, blah. Going to go see Mocha and see Mihaya walking around and be like, probably with the commander or whatever. Because, like, Rio made it sound like don't transform, people will notice you, so just be subtle, be yourself, walk around. So if that's the case, we have to be inside because we said earlier we can't be outside the wall because we have superpowers. That's the only reason we can go outside the colony without protective gear. So we're not wearing protective gear. So we have to be inside the colony. Plus there's pretty grass, which wouldn't be outside. But I don't know how in-depth the game went with, let's make the CG look like it's outside. You know what I mean? The background. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so that's probably how we're going to figure out Mihaya is Mocha. Okay. Ryu told me I didn't have to fight, but that also meant there was a chance we could run into vectors on this patrol. He was unarmed, so I worried about him going alone. That said, he was an adult, so I doubted he'd do anything rash. I decided to get on with my work. I just need to worry about myself. Given how I couldn't fight like I used to, I'd probably be the one in greater danger if a vector were to appear. I took out my comm and checked that I had Rio's number before starting my patrol. I searched the wall carefully to see if anything was out of place. After a while, it felt like I was just circling the same area over and over. There's nothing out of the ordinary. How much more do I have to walk until I meet up with Rio again? We were patrolling the administrative district, and I normally never came here. I was unfamiliar with this area, and it worried me that I didn't know where I was. I lived my whole life in Theta, but I had no idea this place even existed. I stared at the wall, contemplating what the outside looked like. Hold on just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I ordered some groceries, so they came when I was like, I'll probably be done. Nah. So I was like, I'm not leaving them sit out there because it's some frozen stuff. So anyway, back. We are back. Me and the bird are back. Ye's very hungry, aren't you? I know I'm a little hungry too. We're going to finish this part and then we'll have din-dins. But it's like, I was like, I'm going to go upstairs. And he's like, oh, wait, I'll come with you. And it's like, you're allowed to. I sometimes feel like you think because I wait for you that I can't go upstairs without you. He's like, human can't be alone without me. Human can't survive without me. That's true, though. I can't. My heart would be empty and I would wither up and curl up in a ball and die without you because I love you so very much. And when I had to leave you for a couple of days, I was so worried about you. Oh, God, I was so scared that I was going to come home and something was going to be wrong with you. But the second we pulled into the driveway and he opened the garage and we were unloading Grandma's car and I could hear you chirping through the door. Oh, because you were screaming because you heard the garage door and you were like, Human! Human! Oh, my God! Oh, it must have felt like years to you. It was a couple of days you were by yourself. But I know I was very sad without you, too. I was. Nobody understands it. Nobody understands. You could leave a kitty cat alone. You have to have somebody watch your puppy dog. You shouldn't leave your birdies alone, but you know what? I didn't have a choice because everybody that we know has dogs and you don't understand. You can't come out. We could have brought you to Aunt Michelle's house, though. We could have brought you to your Auntie Michelle's house because you could have gone to her house because we were like, she moved to a new house so you wouldn't recognize it, but you would have only been there one day by yourself. And like, he wouldn't know how to go in his cage, but even if they left you in your cage, they would have a much easier time being like, nope, ignore you, leave you in your cage than I do. When we were at other people's house, I'm like, have to let the bird out. Have to let the bird out. Because he's like, you know I do not sit in my cage. He'd be like, these people, I know these people, but they're mean and they left me in my cage, but they're not my mommy lady. I know. We could have, and then you would have at least, but I didn't know. Is it better that you're not in your travel cage with, even though you know those peoples? You know them. You know them because your Uncle Mike is your bestie friend. You love him when he's around. You're so excited. You're like, oh, that man, I love him. You do. He's probably a girl bird, or you're a very gay bird. I don't know. But, well, you're my bird, so you're probably very gay. You're so cute. I love you. Anyway. But I still feel like sometimes, because I try to come upstairs and he flies with me, like, I'm coming with you. It's okay. You'll be safe. And it's like, but that's the way birds do things. You can't go into the other room. Like, if I go pee and I'm out of his line of sight, he'll call to me, like, are you okay? Human? Hello? And he's like freaking out. It's like, I'm fine, bird. Sometimes you're like, I'm fine. And then he's like, chirp, chirp, chirp. And you're like, I'm fine. I'm just peeing by myself. I'm just in the bathroom. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to have these fucking conversations with this bird. But otherwise, he'll freaking freak out because he can't see you. You are outside of his line of sight. He loses his marbles. You know? Anyway. So he was eating, and I'm like, I'm going back upstairs, and I'm like, you can stay and eat. And he's like, no, wait, let me shove this piece of food down my throat, and I will come with you because you can't handle being alone. I don't mind being alone, but if you weren't around, it would be too alone. So yeah. And sometimes I just forget that he's here because I'm just used to his presence. But like, it's okay if you're downstairs eating if you want to stay downstairs, but he tries to convince me and himself he's doing it for me, but it's really just because he's clingy. He's a clingy motherfucker. Anyway, I went outside for that mission the other day. I never would have imagined it looked that way if I just stayed inside Theta. I knew it was a wasteland and completely uninhabitable, but it's hard to believe it's been like that for such a long time. Is the whole world like that? Maybe if you went far enough, it'd be different. Interesting thought. At that point, I realized I'd stopped walking. I hurried to pick up the pace and resumed checking for cracks. Part of my mind continued thinking about the outside as I inspected the wall. I feel like they should have people for this and it shouldn't be teenagers. I wanted to say teenage girls, but most of them are teenage boys, but still. They shouldn't have children doing this. They should have a team of people that inspect the walls regularly because not just monster attacks, okay, but also just natural ground shifting, things moving, weather, storms outside, like whatever. Like, yes, we have perfect weather inside, but outside it's not like that. So just like nature and time and weather and anything could wear down walls, so they should have teams of people who do this. And it shouldn't be our job. Am I crazy? Okay. I know, I'm thinking too much about it. We're not supposed to think that in depth. The game is like, yeah, monsters thing, checking walls for cracks. Sounds like a good job for a teenage girl. Awesome. We're supposed to just go with it, but I can't help it. Sometimes the logic in the games is a little bonkers, and this is one of those times. Anyway, part of my mind continued thinking about the outside as I inspected the wall. Theta used to feel like the entire world to me, but that's not true at all. The outside must be exponentially bigger than here. So much has happened in such a short amount of time. I never used to doubt my world, but it feels like it's constantly changing now. Also, like, are there other colonies? Is this the only one? And, like, how do you stop people from overpopulating? Monsters, right. Much like how I'd found out vectors were originally people, there could be other unpleasant truths thrust upon me in the future. I can't say truths thrust. I can't. My mouth does not want to work and say those two words together. Jesus. I nearly stopped walking again when I caught sight of something out of the corner of my eye. Huh? Is that someone lying on the ground? As I ran over to them, I got the strange sensation that something like this had happened before. We're outside the administrative district. It's Mihaya. Someone was on the ground near the gate that led outside of Theta. Yeah, there's a shadow. As I drew closer, I saw the person was wearing the uniform for my academy. In fact, it was someone I knew very well. I like how they say that, like we haven't already put those pieces together. Mihaya, are you okay? I'm all right. I just felt a bit dizzy. But why? I froze right as I was about to lend him a hand. This had definitely happened before. Talk about deja vu. What are you doing here? Oh, right. The patrol. What did you say? Mihaya's words took me by surprise. He froze, eyes widening as he stared at me. Ah, crud. That single word connected all the dots for me. Oh, this is where we figure out that he's... I feel like it took us... Okay, like, listen, to be fair, we played all of the common route before we got to Kamui's route. But I don't feel like we found out... Well, did we find out Kamui was Sena? Like, an hour or two into his route? Because we're really only technically about an hour-ish in to Mihaya's actual fucking route. You know? Not counting, like, the 10 minutes it took to skip through the common route. So, like, did we really find out this soon? Huh. Feels like it took a little bit longer. But again, you have, like, 3-ish hours of the common route to, like, you know. Mocha was also in pain in this exact location. And then there was her reaction when I gave her the cookies. Is she trying to give me a sugar high or something? Huh? I don't care about what happened the other day, but I'm also not one to turn down a gift. I like sweets just fine. I'll eat them since you went to the trouble of making them. Their backgrounds have a lot in common, too. They both lost their parents. So if that's the case... Are you Mocha? I like how she... in Kamui's route, she walks in and sees him transform and is like, what the fuck? And in this one, she's like, wait, are you Mocha? And it doesn't seem to faze her, like, how fucking outlandish that sounds. Whoa, do you transform into a magical girl? You know what I mean? Like, that is absolutely fucking adorable. Like, I don't know. I like it. I like that she's like, whoa. My voice was filled with uncertainty, but Mihaya just nodded as if he'd given up. I didn't want you to know, but yes, I am. It's classified, however, so can you keep a secret? Can you keep it a secret? Sorry. All this information crashed into me like a wave. I hoped Mihaya would forgive a little surprised shouting on my part. And it's so funny because I actually just looked because I was like, all right, let me go back. Kamui isn't anybody that's been in any games that we've played, but like, Mihaya is Ryuki and Cupid Parasite, and they absolutely, for some reason, like, they have the same... We're playing the Cupid Parasite fan disc in tandem with this right now, but like, it's just funny because I'm like, they're giving them the same kind of attitude. Like, they have the same attitude in my mind, and that's kind of funny, actually. Like, oh, that's pretty funny. I just wanted to look, because I know some of them were voice actors that I haven't heard of before, or like, you know, whatever, and some of them were, but it's because 8P, whatever group that is like, it's kind of like a voice actor boy band. They're the ones who do, like, I think I read that, like, did I say that? Like, collaboration project. Oh my god. I just saw something moving on my screen. I'm like, is there a bug on my thing? It's not. It's just a little heart that's on, like, the little things on the right-hand side of the guy. Oh my god. But anyway, with Automata and 8P, with the members of 8P voicing mostly the game's love interest. But yeah, and it's just a kind of fun, mostly, because there's only, well, I mean, no, we have 8 love interests technically, yeah. But it's just so funny. So some of them have been in, like, games that we've played, and other ones haven't. They've been in other anime and stuff like that, but... So it's just, like, I'm like, let me look and see if he's somebody that we recognize. But yes, he's been in a lot of stuff. We go through this at the end, but it's Junya Inoki. So, yeah. And actually... And Tokyo is Raoul from Cupid Parasite too. That's actually pretty funny. 2 totally different personalities to me, but that's pretty fun. Oh my god. Is anybody else in Cupid Parasite? Because that's freaking funny. Yukonami's in Even If Tempest, but we had to delete all of those. Our commander is the narrator in Bustafellows. Nagusa in Olympia's Soiree. And Fennel in Nekopara Catboy's Paradise. And actually, Mihaya is Dill, and like, so that's pretty funny too. Like, it's always fun seeing that. But yeah. Anyway, we go through this at the end when we, you know. That's kind of fun. So I'm reading all this, and all of a sudden I'm like, Arthur Lounsbury. It's not a very Japanese name for Hyuga. Or he just decided to call himself Arthur. Or your parents named you Arthur. It's not a very Japanese name. It kind of stands out to me. All right, that's interesting. Fun fact. Anyway, all this information crashed into me like a wave. Oh, I hope Mihayo would forgive a little surprised shouting on my part. What? Wait, slow down. I cannot process all that. So you turned into a girl? Or is it the other way around? No, I'm a guy. I transform into Mocha. He answered calmly, but I still didn't fully understand the situation. I'm having a hard time believing this. I didn't really think that could happen. It's just so surprising. You were the one who asked me. And why is it surprising? You have superpowers too. Yeah, but I'm a girl and I transform into a girl. Look at the little smirk on his face. It's kind of funny. Well, you're totally right. Mihayo sighed at me, but I knew he was right. I was part of the Blooms after all. I thought nothing could surprise me now, but I still can't believe it. The only thing I could see they had in common was that they were both cute. But I knew he'd get annoyed if I said that, so I asked about something else. Good for her. You said it was a secret. Does that mean the other Blooms members don't know you're Mocha? No, they know. What I wanted to keep secret was the fact that you found out. Everyone else has managed to keep their identities under wraps. Based on that, I figured the other members had alternate identities as well, but I didn't press the matter since he said they were secret. Okay, he's admitting... Okay, whoops. He's admitting... I mean, to be fair, if you did the routes in order, then you would already know after reading the little after stories that they all know each other. But it's just weird that Kamui's like, yeah, no, I don't know, man. No idea who anybody is. And, like, straight up fucking lied? Instead of being like, I know, but it's like this. This is exactly what I said at the end of his. Like, why didn't he just say, yeah, but I'm not allowed to say anything. It's not my business to tell you. And like this, like, so Mihayo's like, yeah, I know who they are, but what I meant is you found out who I am, but, you know, and we're just going to be like, oh, okay, it's not my business. Unless they want to tell me, so not going to harp on it. Like, that's, if they're going to do it in this route, they could have done it in Kamui's route, you know, instead of making him a liar. Don't know why I'm stuck on that, but I'm like, why would you lie to me like that? Anyway. Alright, I won't tell anyone, but can I just ask one thing? Why are you all keeping it from me? Is it because my appearance doesn't really change when I transform? I tried to avoid the issue as much as possible, but my curiosity was too great. I don't think they're keeping it specifically from you, Spacey. It's everyone. But even though it's a secret, the Blooms members have a vague idea of who each other are. There is not a vague idea! And that I don't like either. There's a vague idea who we all are. You've actually all met and had conversations. So yes, you do know. We have this unspoken rule that we cannot... we have this unspoken rule that we can contact each other in our original forms if necessary. But when that happens, we don't call each other by our Blooms names. Your case is a little special. Turning into a woman is a side effect of our powers, but you don't go through any major physical changes at any point when using your powers. And that's why it was hard for us to tell you. It felt weird to bring it up in the first place. Yeah, I mean, I understood that from the beginning. When they're like, yeah, don't try to be friends with us. And it's like, it's gotta be awkward to be guys that turn into magical girls, because you gotta get used to that. And then even if you are used to it, you gotta realize that there's probably a stigma around that. You know what I mean? Like, look at society in general. Yes, this is a future society, but let's be real. People are assholes. People have always sucked. People are always gonna suck, okay? You know? That's why Star Trek, even though it's like, look, we're all great and all, there was always battles and shit, and people were always around sucking. Because people suck. It wasn't happy, wonderful, like, there were still warships, motherfucker, because shit sucks in the future. As it did in the past, as it does in the present. Again, why? People. Okay? It's the biggest problem. It's people. If we could get rid of the people problem, we wouldn't have any problems. But then we wouldn't have any people, and then that's also a problem, you know? But, like, anyway. So you gotta think that there's gonna be some, like, weird, like, oh, what? You turn into a girl? Oh! Because you know there's gonna be some bro douches. Okay? You know there are some, like, fucking douche bros still in existence. They didn't all magically get wiped out, unfortunately, in this future world. So, there's probably still, like, a little oddity around, like, yeah, that would be weird. And even if you're comfortable in your sexuality or yourself and your body, doesn't mean that if you woke up in a completely opposite gender, you'd be cool with it. You know what I mean? Like, if I magically transformed into some magical boy, I don't think I'd like that very much. It would be odd. I mean, maybe I'd get used to it and be like, oh, this is okay. But, like, it'd be odd at first. You'd be like, this is weird. I have to shave my face now. That's, like, just a whole other set of problems. Am I gonna lose the hair on my head and get hair on my back now? Because, like, what the fuck? You know, like, you got a lot. I mean, you'd be like, I don't have to deal with my period, but then if I see a hot guy, I'm gonna get aroused and need a giant notebook. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, like, just think of all the problems that come with it. You know? So, like, it wouldn't be like just easy. You wouldn't be like, awesome, great idea. I mean, there are going to be people who would think it would awesome, but I feel like those people are probably leaning more on the, like, transgender spectrum where you're like, you know, if like, you're either non-binary and you're like, I don't care, I could be either one, or I'm neither. Or you're, like, floating on the trans spectrum where you're like, I would totally be okay waking up in the opposite gender because I feel more comfortable that way. You know what I mean? But most of us wouldn't feel comfortable that way because you're like, no, this is my body and it'd be really fucking weird. It'd just be weird if you woke up and your body was totally different, even if you were still the same gender. You'd be like, this is fucking weird. It might be better, but it'd still be weird. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand them wanting to keep it a secret and they all are trying to, like, get used to it amongst themselves and each other. But then, like, yeah, now you have a magical girl who pops in and she's just a girl who turns into a girl and you're like, what the fuck? Why couldn't we just be magical boys in cute girly outfits? The hell? You know what I mean? So you gotta be like, so that's gotta be even more uncomfortable for them. And, like, just imagine if they went up to their bro friends in school and was like, yeah, actually I turned into a magical girl. Let's just say it wasn't top secret. You know, might be guys who are going to be like, oh, okay, that's confusing, but sure, okay. And you know that there's going to be dudes that treat them like shit about it. Same with girls. You know what I mean? So, like, there's still going to be a stigma around this even in the future because, again, humans are dicks. So, totally get why they were like, maybe you don't want to talk about it. Everyone was on the same page about it. I had no intention of telling you unless you found out, which you did. I suppose if everyone else was actually a boy, then it would be difficult to talk to me about it since I didn't change genders. I understand. I won't ask you about it anymore. I think that'll be for the best. For the both of us. Mihaya and Mocha are the same person. Now that I knew that, there was something else I had to ask. Mihaya, have you come here to try and overcome your trauma like when you were Mocha? It looks like you're in a lot of pain. Why are you forcing yourself to do this? He was still in his uniform, so I imagine he'd been coming here after school ends. What would drive him to come to a place that brought him so much pain? You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I am worried about you. I tried to be as sensitive as I could, but Mihaya began talking openly, as if he'd decided to quit hiding it. Well, I suppose I understand. You saw me doing the same thing when I was Mocha, so it's no wonder you'd be concerned. I already told you I wanted to overcome my past trauma. Yeah. And that's all. And that this is all stems. Okay, once again, I don't think there was as many moments like this. It's only been like, what, 3, maybe 4. But I don't feel like there was this many in Kamui's rap. So, like, Tim, were you drunk? Did you let Ronald do it? What the hell? And that this all stems from losing my parents. Do you seriously want to know all this? I don't think it'll be very interesting for you. Though he seemed skeptical, something about his tone told me he wanted me to listen. And after finding out that Mihaya and Mocha were the same, I knew that meant the rumors were true and he'd lost his parents. I'd like to hear about them if you're okay with it. Mihaya took a deep breath when he'd heard my reply. My parents were both journalists. I didn't really understand what they did for their job when I was a little kid. But I remember they became interested in what lay outside Theta and started researching it. Outside Theta? It hit me that I'd been thinking about the exact same thing earlier, and I couldn't help but let out a little gasp. And that's right. There are a lot of researchers who are interested in the outside. But some journalists are as well. Except, a person needs permission from the higher-ups to leave Theta, and they need the appropriate equipment. It wasn't easy for my parents, but they managed to get permission to leave a few times. When I was 10, they got authorization to go outside Theta and collect information. They are dead, they got turned into vectors. I remember my father was over the moon and said it was their big chance. My mother was eagerly preparing for it too. Like, why is it? Can I just ask seriously? I guess it's just easier. But, like, why is it when there's going to be, like, child's parents die and cause child trauma, it's always because either, like, both parents are, like, they're both journalists or they're both researchers or they're both going on this super top secret death mission, but it'll be fine. One of them will come back. You know what I mean? Why is it always the same? Why, like, they're both journalists and they're both going to go on this super secret dangerous mission. Because, like, do they not think about their child at all? Like, well, what happens if we die? We'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? They're both in the military. They're both, like, gonna go blow up an asteroid that's coming for Earth. That never happened in, Armageddon or Deep Impact. I don't, but still, that would be the case. There would always be both of my parents died in that, like, this is not both of your parents worked in the same building and the building blew up or something, which was, like, uncalled for. This is both of your parents are going to do something extremely dangerous at the exact same time because they have the exact same job and they're both exactly the same level of crazy. Like, you gotta have one sane person in a relationship, right? You know? I mean, I guess it's easier for storytelling purposes to be real, but, like, can we all just, like, take a step back and go, why we do this? It's dumb. Like, makes no sense. There's no logic in that. Aside from, well, then both his parents are dead, and we don't have to be like, well, okay, one of his parents was a researcher and this happened, and the other one just, like, died in childbirth or some shit. I'm like, where you have to make up why both of them are dead. You know? Why were Kamui's parents? Oh, Kamui's parents were on the way to the hospital for his mom, and they got into an accident. Probably murdered by vectors, for all we know. Seeing how excited they were made me want to go with them. So when the day came, I asked if I could accompany them. I was interested in my parents' work by then, and I was proud they did their jobs with the utmost conviction. I wanted to see what they were so passionate about. My mother refused at first, saying it was too dangerous, but my father was so happy. He said, "That's my boy," and just beamed at me. I hadn't shown any interest in my parents' work till then. I was embarrassed to admit it at the time, and so naturally I couldn't say how much I respected them either. It was the first time I'd ever said anything like that, which just made my father all the more proud. He was so happy, my mother couldn't stop him from agreeing to let me come. She said okay in the end. He watched them die. But I never imagined it'd go the way it did. A terrible feeling of dread grew in the pit of my stomach. I could already see where the story was going. Something happened when the three of you went out. My mother's protective suit malfunctioned. We'd been outside Theta for a while and her suit wasn't working right. And she ended up breathing in some of the polluted air. Oh, that's not nearly as traumatic as I thought it was going to be of them being attacked by vectors and brutally murdered. My father managed to save me, and he called for a rescue, but... Yeah, it's alright. I understand. You don't need to continue. I planned on letting him finish, but I thought it best to stop him when I saw how much pain he was in. I paused and drew in a few more breaths. I remember telling you when I was Mocha that you'd see your friend again soon. Yeah. That's how I felt at the time. My parents died so suddenly, it just felt like anyone could go in any moment. I also felt unbearably guilty since I was the only one who survived. But I guess, okay, so we're in the whatever district, the gate that leads out from this district. Because it sounded like he was standing outside that district, but it's more like he's in that district, and that must be the exact place that they either left from or were coming back, and everybody, like, whatever, that's why that, But he's been outside of Theta. Because we've been outside. But I guess it's just don't go to that door because that as opposed to just being outside in general. Because you would think outside in general would be what's freaking him out, not this specific door. But, you know. My parents died so suddenly. Okay, I read that. And sometimes I thought, if I have to live with the loneliness and guilt, maybe it would have been better if I died with them. I wanted to join my parents. Thought that if I were to die, it'd put me out of my misery. But I lived on despite having those thoughts. It would be awful if you died. Mihaya looked so despondent. I felt I had to say something. I was worried about him, but then he shook his head slowly. I have no intention of dying right now. I think my parents were on the cusp of a discovery. I don't know what it was, but I'm going to finish their last job. It's my duty as the one who was left behind. At the very least, I have no intention of dying until I do that. But if I can't move past this gate... Was this the gate your parents went through to leave Theta? I'd already started to work out why this particular place caused Mihaya so much pain. Yes, I know there are other gates that lead outside. But I feel there's meaning in following my parents' footsteps. And that's why I need to go through here. I want to go through this gate and see the outside world the way my parents were going to. But that phrasing is odd. I want to go through here and see the outside world the way my parents were going to. They did, though. They were outside for a while before his mother, and then she breathed in the polluted air, and that's what killed her. Same with your dad or whatever. They also kind of don't really explain that, because, like, his mother's suit malfunctioned. They'd been outside for a while, so obviously they were trying to get back, but they couldn't get back with her. You know what I mean? But then, I guess his father's suit must have malfunctioned, too? All the suits malfunctioned, which to me sounds like a conspiracy. Like they purposely yeah, okay, fine. You know what? Let them go. Give them malfunctioning suits. They'll be like, oh, it was an accident. They died type of a thing. You know what I mean? You know? And maybe Mihaya didn't die because he's a magical girl. Even if he hadn't transformed yet. But they did say that we can breathe the air outside as if we're transformed. But maybe, because that's true because you can't use your powers at all when you're in normal form. But, like, whatever. But, like, it sounds like if his father also had a malfunctioning suit, that seems like a conspiracy, because that doesn't seem like a coincidence, you know what I mean? But whenever I come here, I just remember how they died and all my fears spring up. Every time I go near the gate, I feel like I can't breathe. It makes me feel ashamed. I completely understood what he meant. Every time I faced a Vector, my mind flashed back to that day. It what? Okay, good God. It was similar to what Mihaya described, in a way. Good God, they're really bad in his route with the typos. I don't know. I really don't believe Kamui's was like that. I understand that feeling. And you recognize that in me, I think. I knew the other Bloom's members cared about me, but Mocha was the one who pinpointed exactly how I was feeling. What she said to me at the time was a little extreme, but she also understood the pain and suffering I felt more than any of them. I could just tell from looking at you that you were in a lot of pain. I imagined it was the same kind of anguish I've been carrying. And that's why I ended up telling you what was on my mind. I realized afterward that it was a callous thing to say. Mihaya looked me in the eye with a bitter smile. I shook my head. I mean, I was definitely surprised when you said that, but I was mostly worried about you. And after hearing you explain everything, I understand why you said what you did. I wouldn't just write it off as you being callous. I also wanted to say that I don't think taking your life is the answer, Mihaya. After I finished speaking, Mihaya's expression suddenly shifted. Someone's coming. Who'd come all the way out here? It's not like they'd be on patrol like you. That's right, the patrol! It could be Ryo! I gasped, and Mihaya's eyes widened in surprise. Oh, right. Ryo's your patrol partner. I completely forgot about that. As the silhouette in the distance grew closer, I could clearly see it was Ryo. I was wondering who you were talking to. Fancy meeting you here, Mocha. And you're like, what? Mocha? He's like, you didn't know? And he's like, you're a bad actress. And you're like, I know. Huh? Surprised by what Ryo said, I looked over and saw that Mihaya had already transformed into Mocha.
What are you doing here? You're not on duty today.
Who cares? I volunteered. Mocha spoke coolly, which I took as a message she wasn't going to tell Rio the truth. I decided to play along. She thought it might be too much for us to handle if the Vector showed up, so she got worried and came by. Okay, so I'm guessing we were supposed to be in our magical girl forms then. That makes more sense, patrolling in our magical girl forms. But he said something about your uniform, your costumes stand out or whatever, so it made it sound like we're patrolling like normal, but then we'd bump into and run into boyfriend. Well, we did run into boyfriend, so... I mean, it did happen, but not the way I was exactly thinking. You know, I was thinking, oh, we were going to come try to see Mocha patrolling, and it was really going to be, like, Mihaya, but, like, still. Same wavelength. It happened. I was on the right track, anyway. So, like, we must be in our magical girl form. That's the only thing that made sense, but it was just the way Rio phrased that, and I was like, that doesn't make sense, but anyway.
Alright, whatever.
I personally thought my excuse sounded a bit sketchy, but Rio didn't want to question us further.
If you didn't find any issues, then we're done.
Okay, great. I was relieved I'd managed to get through this. Then an idea struck me. Hey, doesn't Rio also work in the research district? Yeah, I think that's right. I wonder if he'd know more than us about what's outside Theta. I didn't expect him to say anything about Mihaya's parents, but I was curious to see what he knew in general. Have you ever gone outside Theta, Rio?
Yep. What about it? You went out recently too, didn't you?
I realized he was talking about the mission, so I shook my head to clarify. I was talking about further out, like when you can't see Theta anymore. Do you know what's out there? I mean, the outside is much vaster than Theta, right? There's this great big world outside, but I realize we know nothing about it. I relayed all I'd been thinking earlier. Rio stared at me and considered my question for a moment before quietly speaking.
I don't know why you're suddenly interested, but knowing about the outside won't do you any good. There are things you don't need to know, and there are things you're better off not knowing.
He clearly knew about it, but had no intention of telling me. There was nothing more I could say.
I'm heading out now. Both of you should go back before curfew.
And with that, Rio left without waiting for me to respond. I was worried that you were going to ask what you were going to ask about. And don't scare me like that. Mihaya transformed back after he made sure Rio had departed. Why'd you turn into Mocha? You may know my identity, but I don't want him to find out. Like I said, it's classified information. I know we're on the same side. If here the commander finds out my identity's been exposed, it'll mean trouble. Oh, right. Never mind about that. Why'd you ask him that question? Do you think he'd know about my parents or something? It's not that. I've been thinking about what's outside Theta even before we met. After that one attack, I realized how ignorant I was. I thought more things I don't know about were bound to come up. And that made me worry. What if something like that, something I had no clue about, was just thrust in front of me again? It's true it's better to know about things ahead of time, rather than have them dropped on you without warning. Also, what's outside of Theta is completely unknown to us. Probably wouldn't affect our lives whether we knew about it or not. Speaking of, I've never heard any of my classmates talk about what's outside of Theta. That's how our education is set up. We're taught that our entire world is Theta and nothing else. We learn there are other colonies. Oh, okay, there are other... That answers that. I don't know if they explained that in the very beginning. They might have. But we don't know where they are or what they're like or any other details about them. I think it's pretty natural that people would be curious about any place outside of Theta. I'm assuming... Well, because you think if it's Theta, that's the Greek alphabet, so there's probably Alpha and Beta and Gamma and Omega. Like, you know what I mean? Oh my god, we're Theta, guys! We're a sorority! Anyway, but like, there's other colonies, but they have to keep in contact with each other, and like, you know what I mean? So like, it's weird that they don't, like, I mean, I could see that there's no way to, like, get to other colonies or, like, whatever, but I don't know. Anyway. I mean, think about it that way. Your parents' ideas must have been pretty unique. Yeah, I think so, too.
We're interested in what's outside too, even though we grew up here like everyone else. So we're either just strange or we've had a specific experience. And we're the latter, obviously. Mihaya's solemn expression made me feel like he understood how I felt. But it's no use asking Ryo about it. He and the commander, they can't be trusted. Why do you say that? I believe you that Ryo can't be trusted, but I feel like we can trust Misaki. I sensed a curious note of bitterness in his voice. Mihaya continued with the same serious expression on his face. I mean, I'm still kind of crossing my fingers hoping that Misaki is the person that let our parents go. You know what I mean? And although, I mean, to be fair, it's not like he's that old. What is he, like 30 maybe? He's not drawn like he's dead though, so. But you know what I mean? Like he would have been like, what, maybe like, well, we're like 16 or so he could have been like a baby researcher. You know what I mean? Like, I'm new on the job. Hi, I'm Baby Misaki. I'm here. I'm like, 20 years old or something. And then like let our parents go because they were in love and he could still be our fucking uncle. You know what I mean? Or Uncle Yashima. We don't know. And I mean, because like, there's other things in the game that don't really make a lot of sense. They don't really, they kind of like, yeah, whatever. Loophole. You know what I mean? So the age thing, you'd be like, well, I mean, I guess if he was a baby researcher and then he let our parents go, because if you think about it, like, he let Sena go. He kind of avoided that. You know what I mean? Like, and when we were like, I'm not going to fall in love in the normal ending, he was like, okay. He just pat us on the shoulder and leaves totally deadpan. And like, I know maybe I'm reading into it, but like, I just think it'd be kind of interesting if he was the person who was like, they're in love and like, I don't care if they lose their powers because that's cute and just let them go. And that's how he kind of knew because he's kept an eye on us the whole time. Like he knows who we are. We don't know who he is because Uncle Yashima never said, oh, I live far away and you can't see me and I don't like computers and all this stuff because then we'd recognize him. But he's kept an eye on us. He knows who we are. So when the girls find me, he's like, oh, see, I had a knack. I knew you'd have superpowers. He knew he'd have superpowers because he knew I was born to people that had them. You know what I mean? So he had a suspicion and he's kept an eye on us. You know what I mean? And it would actually be like really kind of cute and adorable. And also, wasn't he kind of protecting us when we went to go get like poked and prodded? He was like, ah, not her. You know what I mean? Wasn't he the one that kind of, somebody like kind of protected us from getting poked and prodded? I thought he was the one that did it, you know? And I don't know, you know? Not saying that he's not hiding shit, because he'd obviously be hiding all of that, and he's probably hiding all the other things, but I think that, like, I still want to believe he's a good guy deep down. But games have bamboozled me before, so. I sensed a curious note of bitterness in his voice. Mihaya continued with the same serious expression on his face. I read that, sorry. No one in the research district can be trusted. My powers, the researchers awakened them when my parents died. What? Oh, okay, now I get why he doesn't trust anybody. Makes sense. I wouldn't have guessed that. Perhaps I'd misheard. I heard you and Sena joined the Blooms after Kaori and Haruka, but they forced your powers on you? It's a little different than that. I was in critical condition after the accident, and since it happened outside Theta, I was sent to the research district instead of a hospital. Which means I was taken to the institute that studies the outside environment. At the time, they didn't know much about what would happen if somebody's body to someone's body if that person breathed the polluted air. And so the only thing the researchers could do to save my life was experiment with unusual treatments. Okay, alright. And then they told me my powers were largely a side effect of all that. When I regained consciousness, I found I had this incomprehensible power that I could transform into a girl. And Kamui's was his mother had some kind of weird illness or something and then somehow passed on, and now he's a magical girl. Something. I couldn't believe it. Well, they wanted to experiment on him. He was part of a program to see if they could, like, use him as a guinea pig because he had his mother's genetics to maybe be able to help other people. I mean, that would make sense. Like, oh, hey, you have this weird, let's take some of your blood and we might be able to use your blood and to try to see if we can come up with a cure for this illness. That's what they would have been doing with his mother, but they used that on him. Like, oh, you carry your mom's genes, so we could use your we could use you to experiment on, basically, and probably got experimented on and turned into, like, whatever. I don't think they were I don't remember if they specifically said, like, I know that he went into that program to help, but it was like, dude, were they bullshitting him? Like, yeah, no, you could help. And then they're like, cool, somebody to experiment on. Or was it just a random side effect? They're like, oh shit. And they're like, no, he's a magical girl. That is not how we expected that to go. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. Was it sinister on purpose or was it like an accident? Like, I was in shock because of my parents passing, and then they told me I had superpowers. It was all too much. And whatever they did saved my life, so I probably should have been grateful. But I just couldn't be. At the time, I wished I died along with my parents. But instead, I had to shoulder all this. And then there were the missions with the Blooms. I didn't want to be part of them, but they made me go out and fight the Vectors. They told me it was all a coincidence, but I think they were pushing their own agenda the whole time. Yeah, I mean, that kind of seems very plausible. Hearing Mihaya's story reminded me how I was pretty much forced to join the Blooms. But it was easy to see that Mihaya resented it much more than me. And also, I mean, like, so I can see why he doesn't trust the commander, because the commander's in charge of them. But I think the commander is, like, the lesser evil out of all the people in the research district, because he might be a researcher, but I also feel like maybe he's like, yeah, I don't really like what we're doing here. But if I'm involved, I can kind of protect them as much as possible, because if someone else were doing it, they would give no fucks about these girls. You know what I mean? And I still think he's Uncle Yashamon, all that. That would just be so good. If the game doesn't do that, they should hire me to come up with scenarios, because that's genius. You know what I mean? Like he's out there protecting us. We've kind of already seen it. Like, all of us in general, right? Like, you were like, somebody made sure there were no researchers around. And you're like, well, obviously it was Misaki. Come on. You know what I mean? And even though he's acting goofy or whatever, and even though he's, hey, you guys have to do this, he's still trying to fight for us against the higher-ups as much as possible without rocking the boat too much. You know what I mean? But I also think it'd be cute if, in addition to all of that, he was Uncle Yashamon's helped our parents escape. Because, like, well, or our parents were the ones that, I don't know that it is our parents, but we heard there was a researcher who let two people escape and elope, and it's like, oh my god, those have to be, there's no way they would just make up that story for fucking nothing. So I feel like that has to be our parents, and I really just hope that how it all ties in, because if it doesn't, wasted opportunity is all I'm saying. Anyway, it was easy to see that Mihaya resented it much more than me. His powers would forever be tied to his parents' death. And that's why I hate my powers. But I also hate everyone involved with them. They didn't even tell us what happens to people who've been hurt by Vectors. It's proof enough they can't be trusted. He's going to be happy when his powers get lost, so. I think I get how he feels. The researchers' reaction was something I'd never forget. They told us to prioritize their safety instead of the people who'd been hurt. Back then I thought they were all selfish and I was disgusted with them, but I couldn't simply lump the commander and Rio in with the rest and say they can't be trusted. Well, they were the adults who worked the closest with us. The Blooms couldn't function without them. We held extraordinary powers. If there weren't any adults we could trust to have our backs, I had no idea what we'd do, unless Rio's a double agent, like he's working for us, but he's also working for the bad guys, but then he's also kind of working for us too. You know what I mean? Because he's technically lumped in with the bad guys, so we're assuming he's a bad guy, but what if he's a double agent? And we're like, oh my god, you're a bad guy, but actually you were working for the good guys all along. We thought you were a good guy, but then we were like, no, you're a bad guy, but you're really a good guy? They could double bamboozle us, We held extraordinary... Oh, I already read that, wow. I've been doing that a lot today. But it seems Mihaya felt this way for a long time. At the same time, he also wanted to finish what his parents started. It contradicts him saying that he wanted to go with them, but he also said he wasn't planning on dying until he finishes their job. After thinking that over, I remembered what I was about to say before Rio arrived. It was a long scene. Mihaya, if you do finish what your parents started, are you still thinking of taking your own life? Well, yes. I think it'd be best. I'll have these powers as long as I live, and that means they'll force me to continue to use them. If I don't have a purpose anymore, then there's no point in going on. I can rest assured and go be with my parents. Maya's face remained calm as he told me this. I felt as if simply asking him not to do it would be meaningless. So, like, I feel like there should have been some trigger warnings on this and, like, talks of, like, often yourself. You know what I mean? Like, this is a little heavy. Like, you know it's not going to happen, and we don't have to really worry about because he's going to fall in love and lose his powers, and then he'll be happy. But it's still like, gee, you just come at this with nothing. Like, are you going to just go? He's like, I mean, it's one thing to say, I thought I'd be better off dead if I died with my parents. Like, that's like survivor guilt. You know what I mean? Like, that, okay. But then her being like, so you're going to go kill yourself? Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then he's like, yeah. And you're like, whoa, whoa, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like, that came out of fucking nowhere. Like, feeling guilty and thinking you should have died when your parents died and whatever because you're alone and whatever. That makes sense. But then, like, she just leapt to, you're going to go off and kill yourself now? Like, what the fuck? Why would you think that? It's not really what people mean when they said I would have been better off dying with my parents. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go drown themselves. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit, game, simmer down. And, like, I mean, it's interesting that it's got slightly heavier top, but, like, maybe there should have been a warning on that. So, sorry. I didn't know that either, but, like, goddamn. They're talking about that. It's almost too light, too. It's like, so are you going to go, you know, jump off a bridge when you're... Yeah, it sounds good. Like, what? Okay. Checking this a little too lightly, but, I mean, we know it's not going to happen or whatever, because, like, we're going to fall in love and whatever, but still. Oof. Mihaya's face remained calm as he told me this. I felt as if simply asking him not to do it would be meaningless. I have to seriously think about what I'm going to say. Mihaya's pain and suffering is too great. But if he finishes what his parents started, I can't just sit by and watch him do what he says he will. You have other options. Let me help you research. Let me help you research. Like, I don't think we should... You have other options! Instead of that, because that's like, no, don't! You have so much to live... Yes, you have so much to live for, but that's not going to get through to people who are in this mentality. You can't just tell them that. They have to see it for themselves. So I think, let me help you research, because I'll be by your side. We'll spend time together. We'll get your research. I'm not negating your feelings or telling you you're wrong, even though I think you're wrong. I'm hoping that by helping you research, maybe you'll find that you'll figure out that you're wrong on your own. You know what I mean? Ooh, save file. Ooh, okay, already. Okay, we're gonna save here. Okay, and... Yep, let me help you research. Mihaya, you've been looking into your parents' work on your own, right? This is a long part, sorry. Not that you mind. How would you feel about me helping you? I'd like to investigate with you and see what your parents were trying to find out. Rather than trying to talk him out of it, I figured it'd be better to stay by Mihaya's side and hopefully change his mind that way. See exactly what I said. Why would you even do that? I can't see what you'd get out of it. Mihaya sounded sincerely confused, so I tried to explain my feelings. After hearing what you said, I can't just leave you by yourself. You've been alone all this time, right? You're trying to recover from your trauma while also doing this research. Not to mention all the Bloom's missions, too. So please, if there's anything I can do, let me help. After I finished, Mihaya sighed in a troubled way. You always say things I never expect. But it actually feels kind of nice to know someone cares about me. Thank you. His face lit up as he thanked me, and it seemed like his dark thoughts had receded for the moment. And then would you be able to help me with something starting tomorrow? I'd like to brainstorm with you on what my parents were trying to find out, as well as how to overcome my trauma. To be honest, I've been getting stuck trying to do it alone. Of course I'll help. I nodded with enthusiasm, pleased at his positive reaction. Aww, okay. Well, this is where we're going to end it, because... I mean, I had to stop, but what are we, like 10 minutes over almost, probably? But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and bird kisses and subscribe to see more.